when you go into the car in the morning or the taxi in the morning, you turn your cell phone on, did you get freaked out that it runs you 23 minutes to your work? Okay, what's happening there? It's very creepy. At least for me. Yeah, how does it do that? Right? Hey guys, this is the purpose of this course. Think about this. If you can figure out how it does that, you learn something.
When you're leaving, where you're going at that time.
That's good. Come up with the right direction. How does it do that? I'll let you say something.
When you look at internet companies like, let's say, Amazon, or Siri,
I'm asking you. You are walking into your car in the morning. You have a car?
yeah.
Okay? And you look it up and say, 38 minutes. This morning you did this. 38 minutes. Go to the New Jersey Turnpike. Okay?
Talk about miracles and how the maps figure out.
Okay, good. So we're incorporating middle worlds. Basically, some of that virtual record of what's happening. Still, I didn't know how we discovered all these things. Don't be so gentleman.
I don't know yes, but
Hey, no, guessing is totally okay. That's when you think, you guess. Okay.
Well, on your phone, it always asks you if you enable your location or anything. I'm thinking maybe because if you have a phone that doesn't connect to your car, it still gives you that view directly in the morning. So you have that house collecting that data. Enable your location or allowing that data to collect it, how you're going, then that's how it's going to collect.
Enabling location allows applications to store location for you. And have you thought about this? That if you are in your car, you're changing locations every second. You think it stores every second where you are? And so if you were, one of you in the back there, if you were going to write an algorithm, what would you say? Collect. What would be your algorithm that you would think? We are going to talk about algorithms today, so I'm motivating you here. Come on, guys, this is useful for your daily life. And don't be shy. There is no penalty here to speak.
Wouldn't you just collect like the data from their location when they start moving and then again stop?
Okay, you just created an algorithm. Do you realize that?
I guess.
Okay, and how do you detect if you start moving?
Well, their location.
So the location was reasonably stationary, it changed.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'll put in a minimum amount of feet that you move before it gets about to come walk back and forth.
Okay, so you just created parameters for the algorithm. Yes, good. Come on, guys, come on. What would you do here?
Phones also have motion sensors in them, which we have
Okay. A little bit more thinking here. Yeah.
So basically,
Gary?
your mile per hour travel. So if they were moving really fast, like at 60, and then you hit traffic, it would be going like 10, and then it sends it.
Okay. Keep thinking of that way. Christian, any idea?
The obstacles on the way.
You guys are getting fancy. Let's try to go basic here because the kind of things you're saying here would require a lot of computation. Maybe you don't want to do so.
I know you mentioned time, but I do think kind of put it instead of every set amount of seconds or minutes.
Okay.
You can also know if you're like on a road versus like isn't it like apps that knows when you're actually on a road.
Okay, but you are getting this point. You are taking the point. You are linking huge data stores. Okay, and I I don't know if your cell phone. Oh, okay, let's talk about this a little bit. Someone talked about the mirror world, and this is the real world, and that is obviously a matching between these two things. And the other thing to think about is there is computation here, and there is computation here. And your cell phone is 1,000,000 times or more powerful in computation than old devices were. But still, how much can you store of your daily habits into this little local device? And how much can you store up here in this huge cloud device?
Can we just make it like after a certain time you start removing, say you take location every 5 seconds or every second, after a minute you start deleting all this information and reviewing it.
Oh, so you're creating temporary storage.
And
But then if you do that, you tomorrow won't know what the thing was.
you can do like the continuous location, but then keep the ones that, the phone will know when you're there for longer than an hour or two. Those are the current ones, but the triangulate everything, you can do like setting then start reviewing all the smart, like the ones.
Okay? So you have to even talk about that last time.
Like shooting it up to the servers and stuff so that you don't have to keep it on your phone and you only add in this information when you're connected.
Okay, let me ask you a different question, but I want you to think about this too. Isabel's data is every 5 seconds or every minute sent over here. And why do they do that? Just to tell her where you're going. What would be the purpose of just giving this little predictive aid and do all that storage and all that cost? It's a very important question. Yeah. Did you hear I said they? Someone is doing this. It's not a miracle.
Well, it allows them to possess the data.
So you already answered the question. He said there is other benefits. Okay, this is just collateral, not damage benefit. Okay, but think about how scary this is. Remember about the privacy discussion last time? Think about every step of the road of yours is being documented. You stop to pick up your girlfriend, that's documented. Okay, you put gas, that's documented. You crash into another cab, that's documented. That's pretty good or pretty bad? Good? Okay, anyone thinks pretty bad?
It's also pretty bad too.
Remember, technology give it, technology take it. Okay, I think, I'm not totally sure, I did read it somewhere, but never know what is Donald Trump calls it, the fake press. Never know if there wasn't some fake press or fake research there.
No, fake news.
But I think fake news, that's right. I think that what it actually does is detects a changing pattern and doesn't store the whole string because it would be too much things to store, picks up the changing patterns. I think, for example, it tells me where my car is parked. Very good for me because I forget where my car is. Okay, I have spent 2 hours after a football game with my son looking for my car. Finally, I had to ask the guy, one of those people with cars there in the parking lot to drive me around until we found my car. First, I thought I had stolen my car. But I wasn't outside of the state. Okay, and I immediately think this, when these things happen, next thing is technical idea, new app, like locate your car. Okay, and they came up with it without me having to do it. And how do they detect that? They detect it because you are connected to your car through many different ways you can connect your car. And you disconnect. And that disconnection could be anywhere, correct? But they know kind of your work patterns. Or they know people go to work in the morning, come back in the evening. If you work at night, you're screwing up the algorithm. Okay. But I think that's the event that they detect when you detach yourself from the and I think a couple of you mentioned there is a discontinuity, so it's worthwhile story. Interesting, correct? Very interesting. So, continuing the thing, we talked about those balls growing, and then we talked about automatically, progressively collecting more information. And then we talked that there was an economic switch between the cost of collecting data. Then I said something that you might not remember. I said, there is so much data here that we have to make decisions of what is an app, what is not. What is worthwhile spending time and the resources to create an application? Remember I said things like, privacy is wrong, but don't worry, they're not very interesting. What does that mean, but not very interesting? And then I make,
Were you asking for that?
no, all is free.
Well, they don't want to spend money to do anything with that information. They have it, but why would
What's
money to
exactly
do
good?
it?
I think the words I use is, if you're not making a buck, you are not going to develop this. Yes or no? No? Why?
Well, you have to make money, make profit now, but you predict that you're going to make profit in the future.
They're still making a buck.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there are other things that are public good, there are hackerism, sometimes you hack just to show you're smart, at least the original hacking was that way. There is all kinds of religious reasons, there are all kinds of reasons, but in general, you're going to develop apps and maintain apps if you have economic motivation. Or religious motivation, or whatever the main one is. And that's very, very important to understand modern work. Then continuing what we talked last time on the big data conversation, we said, let's imagine this. And I want you to think about this because I will ask the question today. Let's imagine this in Audit. And then I said, here it is, we have inventory. And this inventory has an RFID chip on each one of them. Remember that? Okay, and then I said, now you don't have to go and count inventory. What do? You just send away. That is the response. Oh, I'm here. So you know how many of them. And then we said, let's expand this model into doing a little bit more with this. And I went to both sides of the box. And I said, here is the inventories arriving. So I can monitor receiving my purchases for a 3-year match or something like that. Then I looked at the other side and I said, oh, now I can connect this to my cash register and make very sure that when we put inventory out, we pay as opposed to pocketing it. Okay? But I didn't stop there. What else did I do? I went connected it to the clients and to the suppliers. And we had a whole value chain monitored. And of course, there are discontinuities. At the end of the street, you don't have a device to collect information. and you don't have an application sitting on your car sending the information up. Or no one thought it was worthwhile sending that information. Yes?
When you connecting the database, different databases will be challenging, it's like different file types, and you're using different applications.
The problem of file types, that kind of thing has been resolved. Okay, it's just a question of spending the money to do it. These are not really technical problems. The problem here is a business problem. The problem is it worth doing? And I said one last thing here that you probably don't remember is auditing doesn't drive this. You are not going to manage a supply chain for auditing. You will manage a supply chain for but that's the objective. But you're right. You're going to manage a supply chain for logistics, for improving the logistics, making more money. Okay? And because you have the infrastructure in place, you are going to maybe do an audit, maybe do things in that direction. And what you call audit today will be very different in so many years. But that's what we talked about this. And this had a reason. The reason about this is first, talk a little bit about some things we're going to talk today. And the other reason is saying, you can predict technology. You can predict it very well. When I developed the continuous auditing system at Bell Laboratories, many of you are not born, 86 to 90. Okay, you are born? And at that time, it was very clear to me that monitoring and extracting variances would be very valuable for business. But I had no idea that the prevalence of internet the way it is prevalent today. I was using internet, the labs had internet at that time. Internet has been around for 10 more years, 15 more years than that. But I had no idea that she would have internet, we would have internet. You never know before. They have internet. Okay? But so technology happens a little bit different. Okay, so that's the reason we are going to talk a little bit about predicting technology. Sorry about the Siemens thing there. I made a presentation for Siemens and I put the logo there and another removed it. I also discovered that in the title of this thing, I had me as Bell Labs. And so this has been more than 4 years when I did this. Okay, now a little bit of attention here. I'm going to ask a question. Well, every telegram, you know what telegram is? So, do you know what a telegram is? Yes. Does everyone know what a telegram is? I think some of you might not know what a telegram is. But anyway, no one is. You know what a telegram is? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's see how you're going to find it.
It's a device where you can send messages.
Oh, that's a teletype. That's a teletype. But teletype is used for issuing telegrams. Yeah.
It's like a temporary voicemail.
Ooh, no. Yeah?
It's like the typed out message that was previously spoken and then transmitted through users of it.
Yeah, it's transmitted with the teletype. And what is it? It's basically there is a code. They used to use Morse, like 3 dots is this letter, 2 dots, dots and a 0 is this letter, and etc. And you convert them, the zeros and ones into letters. And then in the telegraph office, they would print it out, cut it, and put it in a piece of paper and deliver it in your house. Okay? And the dominant telecommunication device in the late 1800s was telegraph. And they charged you per words that you are sending. And so my uncle was an expert in abbreviating words and putting words together to save money in telegrams. And the problem was that people didn't understand what he was saying. he was an expert on that. So read this. While every telegram consists itself on a written word of what is being communicated, Bell's instrument. What is Bell's instrument? The telephone. Alexander Graham Bell. The telephone. Everyone knows what the telephone is. Most of you, how many of you don't have a landline? Only have cell phones. I'm surprised. I bet you last more than half. Bell's instrument uses nothing but the voice, which cannot be captured in complete form. There was no recording at that time, or good recording. And therefore will be no record of what was said or agreed upon. We leave it to you to judge whether any sensible man or woman would transact his or her affairs by such a means of communication. Have you already figured out what this thing is? What is it?
Isn't it about phone?
Yes. Let me read you the next one. Bell expects that subscribers to this service will pay to have the instruments installed in their premises, installation charges, and will thereby pay for each call made, call charges, with a monthly minimum fee if no calls are made. We feel that it is unlikely that any substantial number of people will agree to such an arrangement in view of the telegraph offices, which are now giving efficient round-the-clock service in every neighborhood, and the smallest town will charge only the actual messages according to the bank. Let's see what other people say. What do you think about that? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Can't record what they say in the phone. The other thing is there is monthly charges, there's charge per user, installation charges. That. But you're right, this is, well, let's just go to the in conclusion, the committee, what you know, what is a camel? A camel, what's a camel? No, camel is a horse designed by a committee. That's a joke, guys. You know why I'm saying that? It's because committees make all these compromises. So they don't do the optimal decision, they make things comfortable. That's at least the argument. Okay? In conclusion, the committee feels that it must advise against any investment whatever in Bell's scheme. We do not doubt if you will find a few users in special circumstances, such as between the bridge of a ship and the engine rooms. But any development of the kind and scale that Bell so fondly imagines is utterly out of the question. And as you already guessed, look what this is. This magnificent example of managerial judgment was the forecast of a Western Union. Western Union was the monopoly, nearly monopoly of telegraph at about the turn of the century, not this century, last century.
Now they have like a tablet, you can transfer money from one to
Huh? That's all they do now.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's all they do. But I want this. I know this is amusing, but does this teach you something? Give you an idea of something?
So, like, if there was a large-scale investment to build the underlying infrastructure to transport the telephone, like the wires that go from one end of the country to another end of the country, would them have been as successful?
So, yeah, Isabel.
I think, well, one, companies that are currently doing really well are often resistant to things that will vastly change the way we live, and also, as you can see, the companies that don't get on board with innovation get left behind.
Yeah, because AT&T is still around. They were the big monopoly of telephony, and I'll tell you a little story about that. And Western Union is not around, just lying of nothing. Okay, but it's deeper than this. This is large, dominating company on a particular industry rejecting technological change. Yes, we can.
Yeah, it's hard to. It's probably because it's hard to predict the change. It's the same when TV came around. The same as personal computers. The big companies many times predict these changes.
Okay, so what Christian is saying, personal computers. Apple was offered to IBM, the dominant computer manufacturer. IBM didn't want it. So I have two examples now. AT&T, Western Union, Apple, and IBM. Kodak was offered Polaroids. You might not even remember what Polaroid is. And you will remember what Polaroid is. And they didn't want it. Okay, so that is a very interesting story here, and that's the story that we are going to go through. They never skip this. This is true. Not this one. Okay, because I think this is a learning, particularly my international students. In 1850, a decade before the Civil War, the United States economy was small. It wasn't much bigger than Italy's. 40 years later, it was the largest economy of the world, so 1890. What happened in between was railroads. They gave access to the East industrial goods. They made possible economies of scale. They stimulated steel and manufacturing, and the economy was never the same. Deep changes like this are not unusual. Every so often, every 60 years or so, a body of technology comes along and over several decades, quietly, almost unnoticeably, transform the economy. It brings new social classes to the fore and creates a different world. This is reasonably okay, except for the cycle. 60 years, now it doesn't take 60 years. So can you tell me, so this was the railroads came in and changed everything. Can you tell me something that is now changing everything? Internet. But is it the internet, or is it internet applications, or we just say internet, putting the whole package together?
More so putting the whole package together.
Yes.
The framework of the ability to use it.
I think actually the next, I don't know what the next one is, but I think IoT and smart chips built into everything are going to cause a lot of change. And I will put in the internet change or not, I don't know. This is an article by this guy, McAfee, and you're going to hear these articles by McAfee and Joshua. And these are two professors from MIT Sloan School. And they are basically economists that talk about technological change. And they now talk a lot about AI. We'll show you a movie, a video that you might find interesting. But the only thing that I wanted to call your attention to McAfee's work is it divides computation at three levels. One level is personal computation, like your cell phone or whatever. The other level is networks, things interlinked. And the third level is enterprise, like SAP, etc., etc. So either do computing for yourself, or do computing for intercommunication, or do computing for an enterprise. Okay, it's an important conceptualization. Another conceptualization I think you find interesting is actually by this guy, Thomas Friedman, and you probably many of you know the name. Thomas Friedman writes for the New York Times, and he is basically an op-ed writer, writes very well. And he was a specialist in Israeli versus Arab relationships, or lack of relationships. Wrote a lot of op-eds about politics in the Middle East. And for a while, he decided to get interested on globalization. And he wrote 2 books on globalization. The one in 2005, The World is Flat. And I think there is a couple of things here that are worth talking. This is just a summary out of the book. He said that really, basically, it was this kind of triple convergence. Political, and he thought 3 billion people joining the trade. What does it mean? China joined the world economy before it was segmented away. Okay? And then Eastern Europe, with the fall of the Berlin Wall, brought in 500 million people, or more than 500 million people in the world economy. And then in Africa, South America, and some other parts of the world, the economic level went up, and people started to be able to consume. So, and then he talked about these 2 other things: technology, that you can build technology on top of technology, hardware and software multifunctionality, and then tools that allow you to be in America and doing your business in Africa and Asia. And so he kind of tied 2 political events. I think I would do something like that. That's what he did. First one, very symbolic, the fall of the Berlin Wall. And what that meant is that Eastern and Western Europe became one. And actually, better defined that is the crumbling of the Soviet Empire at that time. And now they're doing better. But for a while, they were not doing so. They're not doing so well. The average life expectancy of the Russian people is low, but much worse than when the Russian Empire crumbled. But I think it was very symbolic. And the second one is Netscape going public. Have you ever heard the word Netscape? Yes? Netscape is a browser. What's a big deal, a browser? You can buy and get a browser for free on the internet. That time wasn't the case. And the way the World Wide Web developed is kind of an interesting story. There was this infrastructure called the internet at that time. Okay, and what was this infrastructure? Well, basically wires all around different places. And allowed you to do basically 2 things. One thing is go to someone else's computer and access it. The other thing is passing things back and forth. And that seems pretty trivial, not trivial at all, tremendous technology. And whole set of tools to use that technology progressively evolved. But the one that caught on was the World Wide Web. And that was in 1991, 92. And in 91, 92, 93, no one imagined what would be today, this, what we call the internet, or we call the World Wide Web. And on top of that infrastructure, there was this software. And what this software did allowed you to put together videos, audios, and text all together in a web page. And the most interesting thing about it is that was kind of developed free. Was a professor or a guy in CERN, Switzerland. CERN is a high energy laboratory, physics laboratory, and he basically created one of these protocols that put things together and then opened it up to the web and say, anyone that can help, give me code. Code meaning computer programs. These things started evolving, and like the supercomputer laboratory of the University of Illinois developed a browser, and other people developed browsers, and these things caught on, and the users went exponentially up. And then people in business, much later, maybe 3-4 years later, started noticing that this thing was a real thing. And you say you always talk about the development of the internet. If there was no local delivery, there would be no internet. And what's the local delivery? This and this. Okay? If there is, at the same time that this technology, the World Wide Web technology, became available, people were getting local computational devices. And this came after this. And iPads came after this. So was big computers, wired big computers, terminals, and then terminals, laptops. After laptops came iPad, that kind of thing. Okay? And now the smartphone. The smartphone is the more recent. Very soon there'll be something else. The question is what? And what they did is the guys who were developing the browser at University of Illinois went to the public markets and asked for money to create a company. And Netscape was created. So the reason why this is remarkable is because it's public markets financing technology startups. That was the reason that they thought was so noteworthy. And can you find Netscape in the stock markets today? What happened with Netscape?
Well, in the early, at the turn of the millennium, there was this huge dot-com bubble of this, and that's
But that's correct, but that's not the reason. What was it? What happened with Netscape? It worthwhile I call your attention because it's worthwhile knowing. Who was the dominant computer company in the world for all the beginning of computer history? Was IBM. Okay? And then what was the second company that emerged as being a huge dominant place? Because IBM didn't want laptops. It didn't want personal computers. Apple didn't do very well. Apple was good in that domain, but was Microsoft. Microsoft, you know, the difference between Apple and Microsoft is that Apple kept its technology to itself. Microsoft offered this technology to IBM, who created IBM PC that became Lenovo, but at the same time they kept the right to sell it to other people. So finish after there were the Lenovo-like companies in the world, and I'm not going to say names because there are many of them, and each one made their own PC with Intel technology and with Microsoft software. And so if you look carefully at that time, Apple operating system and software was much, and the computer was much better than the IBM Alliance. But they were more expensive, and only Apple supplied it. And they did the same mistake with this, with the cell phone. Okay, they are losing market share rapidly, making most valuable company in the world. Okay? Are they? Yeah, they are the most valuable company in the world. But same kind of thing, they are not delegating to other companies to brand their own brands. And so what happened? Everyone is going to the other standards, because the other standards they can develop with very little startup. So hold on a second, because there is more to this story. So Microsoft actually became the de facto standard in computing. Stay there for a second and think about this. What's happening with Microsoft now? Is Microsoft a company that talks about technology? Who do we talk about technology today? Edison.
Not Microsoft.
Exclusion is the criteria. Google, correct. Apple. Who else? Samsung. And why Apple, why Samsung not Apple?
They allowed more free range with their
Same story of Microsoft. They license. And see, license, instead of having one person working, you have one entity working and many entities working on your behalf. And so what do you expect with Samsung? You expect that with their operating systems, and is there going to be much more apps being developed? Why? Because the apps are more profitable, there are more devices using them. So the more devices there will be, the more unbalanced the game will be. And less of a clash, even if the new iPhone has incredible features. Those features are rapidly going to be preempted by similar features in the Samsung device. Because there are many people working on it. More apps going on. Okay, continuing. What actually happened with Netscape is Microsoft says, you see, I have Microsoft computers here. I have my operating system here was DOS, and then became Windows. And the next layer on it is going to be the browser. Okay? And the person that dominates the browser will dominate the markets below. So I can't let other people take it. So they play pretty dirty and basically forced everyone that was selling Microsoft software to basically adopt Explorer browser. Okay, and they were penalized big time by the European Union, all kinds of things happened. But the strategy worked. It was smart strategy. Basically, they basically made the browser a free software. And they didn't make it a free software because they were good guys. They made it, why? Exactly, they did, or to avoid someone else to control the market. Remember, the layers go like this. This is your box, whatever it is. Okay, and the box has an operating system on it. It could be DOS, etc. On top of DOS, there is Windows, which now became kind of normal. And so these three levels. And on top of that, the applications, and one application was the browser. And that time was Netscape. So people thought Netscape was going to make a lot of money. But it didn't, because a competitor went for free in the market and not only made it free, forced the bundling of software. So if you got Microsoft, you had to get Explorer and other things. And of course, what they did is destroy several businesses that were autonomous. Very good strategy, very smart strategy. not very good for society. Okay. And what we have now, the browser is just one type of applications. There are many other applications on interfacing directly with your system. But this is actually it's a sequence of these sorts. So that's what happened here. And these things is basically you have a universal software platform. You can operate from wherever you want. And so you outsource, you offshore you put factories over there. And what actually happened for a period, everything moved to China. So the US went down from around 35% of the people manufacturing, the jobs being manufactured in the US, maybe 30%, down to 10%, which is today. Maybe a little bit larger now, 14%. That's what happened. This is kind of the offshoring that happened, doing it in China. What happens? The prices level, and the proximity to the consumer became big. And so, actually, there has been a 40% increase in U.S. manufacturing in the U.S. But went from 10% to 14%. And we didn't come 40% more jobs. What happened is there was a lot of automation. I'm going to show you a video about that in a second. So that's kind of the evolution, which is a very serious evolution. Okay, now another term here that I want you to remember. GPT, General Purpose Technology. And do you remember what 2 slides ago we were talking about railroads? You think that's hot modern technology? No. It was at that time, 1850. Very hot. By the way, train is hot anyway. Right? I keep buying my grandson trains, so he plays with them. No, so I play with him because there's no interest on trains. Actually, now I got him one that he likes. But trains were very big technology. But look at this. Have you ever thought as plowing? You know what plowing is? You know what plowing is? Okay, plowing is you put an ox in front of you, a horse, put this little thing that will go like this behind the horse, and what it does, it makes hold on the land, makes the land soft. Why do you want to make the land soft? So you can plant them. Because after a while, then, if you plant, it hardens up and you can't plant. Then the theory is that Mayan cities, entire beautiful Mayan cities, were abandoned for the lack of plowing technology. Because they couldn't plant anymore, and the logistics wasn't good enough to carry everything to the big cities. They always have this question. There might be other theories that exist. Electric power. Have you ever thought about electric power? Electric power was less than 200 years ago. First, there was no electricity. And so how did you power things? Either you lifted yourself, or you had slaves doing power, or you finished up managing to do hydropower. And what was hydropower? The river was going down. You put an obstruction that was a wheel in it, and the wheel turned. And then you had pulleys to it, and so everything else turned. So you could smash the corn, you could do all kinds of things, but very close. Because if the pulleys are very long, they lose all their effectiveness. And then what happened? What happened?
Well, Thomas Edison, his company was able to create this thing called the electron, and so we saw.
Thomas Edison was a brilliant man, great developer, but he didn't invent the business.
No, he controlled it. His business is controlled.
Yeah. Thomas Edison industrialized electricity. And very interesting what happened. Edison actually created his electrical plants. And people that wanted to develop products efficiently had to be within, close to his factory. Why? To his power plant. Why? Because you couldn't transmit energy for long distances. So that you had to be wired directly where the speed. Okay? And what he did, he had direct current. And direct current is not that good as opposed to alternate current. And so progressively he lost his control over electricity. We'll talk about that story later. Now, you know where transistors were developed? And do you ever know what a transistor is? Transistor is a piece of silicon that does zeros and ones. So it is a little chip like this, okay, and the power goes in, and it either turns it on or turns it off. And it has two states, 0 state and 1 state. And this is electrically transformed. And so, at Bell Labs, we developed transistors in the early 60s. And basically out of sand, silicon. And progressively, you put together these things into chips. Because what you were trying to replicate is a vacuum tube. And a vacuum tube was like a little bit like a light. And you put electricity from one side, and you got a 0 and 1, depending on the power that you put into it. But the early computers, the ENIAC or the EDVAC, they were sitting, one of them was sitting in University of Pennsylvania, and they had rooms the size of this floor with tubes. And there was a guy, or 2 or 3 guys, whose job was to go around and see if the tubes were working. You press a button, see it turn on, press a button, see it turn on. Okay? And that was very inefficient. And this is like lead, it's hot. So the energy spent on that was very big. So they discovered instead of needing a vacuum tube, they could use a transistor. So the thing shrank in size rapidly and in heat. And that transistor would put together into chips, solid state chips, which all computers use today. And instead of having a room like this, you would have a quarter of an inch chip with millions of transistors. A whole, now multi-layered chips. And every 2 or 3 years, the capacity and the cost of that thing died, or half. Okay, and so this was a major change. And why is that a major change? Why?
Because when you have more transitions, you can handle more processes. Like, you can do something faster.
Because you put some degree of intelligence into devices. And the zeros and ones compounded in large number of zeros and ones create very complex logics. You have billions of chips sitting around in your computers. Maybe not billions, but tens of millions or hundreds of billions. Lasers, I'm going to give the past, internet, etc. And now people are saying other things are coming, and I should think about what are the next things coming. Now, what actually these guys, this is Miklos talking about this, he talks about general purpose technology, which is like plowing, drains, etc., needs a whole thing around it. And needs better skilled workers, higher level of frameworks, new ways of doing things, and new rights of processes. Now, if you look at these 4 things here, and you think about what's happening with auditing, is that true? Does auditing need better skilled workers like you? Okay, I know you. I always need to break it a little bit every few minutes because attention spans are down. I was at the NASDA meeting 2 weeks ago. You know what NASDA is? National Association of Schools of Accountants. I don't know what the D is. Okay, and this is, there are 50, National Association of State Boards of Accountants. Yes, not schools. State Boards of Accountants. Okay, and tell me how this is, I don't know. How come there are 54 members of NASDAQ? There are only 50 states in the US, correct? Give it Puerto Rico, 51. So where are the other people? I don't know. Maybe Guam? Maybe... Anyway, so I complained bitterly about the CPA exam. Because you guys don't have enough place in the curriculum to have enough analytics, enough statistics. And I said, and when I went and talked to the CPA exam, actually last year I had a guy who was a psychometrician, who was a PA graduate, come here and talk to the class. Maybe if you want, I can ask him. Great guy. And came and talked about the CPA exam. I visited there, talked to them, and I said, you guys have to change this exam. Because I go into the classroom and start talking about analytics. Sue raises her hand and said, is this in the exam, Professor? I say, no. There goes Sue. Sue has no interest anymore. Okay? And it's true. It's a double bind. Then I went to the State Boards of Accountants, the people, not the State Board, at the exam people in New Jersey, and they said, I can't ask analytics, your students don't know. So one is saying, what students are telling me, if it's not at the exam, I'm not interested. And the exam is telling me, the students don't know, so I can't put it in the exam. So I made a suggestion. I said, let's do the following. I'll write 100 questions on analytics. I give it to the exam people. You give it to Gleim and the other guys doing exam preparation, and say, in 1 year we're going to have this type of questions. That will change everything. Correct? Because from 1 second, Sue will be, tell me more about analytics. I'm just joking. Okay? And so what can we do? Then they said, no, we can't do it. Why can't we do it? Because NASDAQ is not going to let us change the exam. And we had a hell of a time to convince them to put more analytical questions, meaning just like rational thinking as opposed to memorization question. They just changed the exam. First exam in 17 is a different exam with more part of these logical thinking that we call. Okay, so we're stuck. Not so stuck because I went to talk to NASDAQ. Guess what? Yesterday I got an email from a person in NASDAQ asking me to write 30 questions for them. So I asked Stanley, who's going to, maybe we'll be teaching for the general, maybe not, maybe we'll just be teaching someone. Maybe Chow Chow will teach me next time. I don't know. January, February, March. Audit analytics. Anyway, someone will be teaching for you. And Stanley is writing the 30 questions, we're going to pass it to NASDAQ, and they are going to vote it among their members. Let's see what's going to happen. Now, if this happens, low probability, you guys have a competitive advantage. Major competitive advantage. Because you'll have the analytics. Okay, so this is just a little introduction here. Okay, I mentioned to you earlier that what McAfee does, I wanted to introduce this, is basically divided processing into three levels. Function level, which is like the personal stuff, the network level, and enterprise level. And just stay with this in your mind. We are going to come back and talk about the capabilities of this characteristics. this is an interesting story. I want you to think about this. Everyone knows who AT&T is. Can we tell a little story behind AT&T? You know what AT&T is, Abdullah? Good. Yes.
Wasn't AT&T in 1969 different than they break out?
Just understand. You remember the little thing I showed you on Western Union rejecting the idea of a telephone? Wasn't useful. The model was spending money every month. They could offer stores that you would go there, they put a few words on the paper, it cost less, etc. Well, actually, it wasn't such a bad idea. And Alexander Graham Bell went around trying to get people to adopt the technology. And finished up that a whole large number of companies developed a telephone product. And the telephone product was basically a switching station and wires stretched out to your house. And if I wanted to talk to Hong, if I want to talk to Hong on the phone, I would pull my receiver out and say, can I talk to Hong? And some lady would pick up a wire from the central, put it in Hong's receptacle, put it in mine, and now we had a line occupied between the two of us. So that was manual switching. Okay, that's what they started developing. And of course, you wanted to live reasonably close to the telephone station to have telephone. Telephone is a very competitive application, extremely important. And then it turned out to be that hundreds of these ICOs, independent companies, were developed. And there is this axiom that says the value of telecommunication devices is proportional to the square of the interconnected elements. Because if there is one interconnected to people, one person is useless. If there are two people, the value is 4. And if there are 3 people, the value is 9 because you can talk with others, etc. So what was happening is that the bigger companies, were refusing interconnection to the smaller companies because they knew eventually the value of the big company was bigger than the smaller, and people would abandon the small company, would go bankrupt, and the big company would get the clients. So that started happening in the US. And the US government did a very wise thing. Believe it or not, the US government does a lot of wise things. And what they did is they allowed monopoly on telephone. And what that means is that AT&T, the largest of those companies, at that time, I don't think even that, American Telephone Telegraph, that's correct, AT&T. AT&T was allowed to become the monopoly. But there was a weird monopoly whereby they had to create standards to all the other companies. And the other companies could interconnect into AT&T for free. Not for free, there was an exchange of rates. Okay? So AT&T could say, no, I'm not going to let you connect, you have to connect. And they created area code and the 7 digits, and each one of those area codes was a switch. So in every state they had a switch. And the switch before was manual, that's how it started. Then became electromechanical. The arms moved. And so instead of, I want to talk with Hong, you dialed in the digits. And first you only dialed the 7 digits. The 7 digits was your local area. If you put the 10 digits, you go long distance. And so a lot of the, you probably don't even remember this, the long distance calls. So if you call from here to New York City, it would be long distance. And you pay more. Okay? But allowed this interconnectivity, the standard was created. Every technical development in the telephony area, which was a high area of electronics and computing, and no computing really at that time, was to telephony. And they created a research group. And the research group became the Bell Laboratory, the famous Bell Laboratory, which, when I joined, had 20,000 people working there, 8,000 with PhDs. Most of them PhDs in physics, mathematics, but they are cheaper to hire than people like me in business, PhDs in business. Okay? And everything that we use even today in telephony was basically developed originally in that. So it was a great resource, was horrible when progressively it was, the progressive just was emasculated. But, so they created this interconnected network. And this interconnected network in the United States provided the best telephone service in the world. In the early 80s, the government sued IBM and AT&T for monopoly after they gave permission for monopoly much earlier in the year. And IBM hired Miklos, the ex-attorney general, who defended IBM, and IBM didn't have to divest. And AT&T, instead of fighting back, they agreed, and they divested. What does it mean? AT&T remains a long-distance telephone company, and they created 7 operating companies to do local telephone. You understand the concept of long distance. So local, I just explained. Local is the same switch, 7 digits. Simplification, but that's the thing. Long distance was falling between these things. And they said that long distance business would be competitive, the local business would be monopolistic. And when the local companies started getting competition, they would be allowed to go into the long distance business. So what basically happened is these local companies became more powerful, and they created capabilities, particularly when the cell phones started to come in, to do long distance calls. And what happened is that AT&T had competition of MCI and Sprint. And they progressively, with cell phones and etc., started losing their competitive edge. Actually, AT&T, when I joined, was in 86, 85. AT&T had 320,000 employees. They went down to something like 30,000 employees, 40,000. Consequently, and when divestiture happened, 7 companies, Verizon, Bell South, SEC, split out. Bell Labs was split in 2. And one went with operating companies, and one stayed, became AT&T Labs. I stayed with AT&T Labs. So that's kind of the story of what evolved there. And AT&T went from 300,000 employees to something like 35,000 employees. Bell Labs shrank too. Okay, until SBC, one of the 7 companies, bought them. And then they bought one other operating company, so and they went back to the old man, AT&T. So what we call AT&T today is the old long distance company, and SBC and one more, Bell South. Okay, so that's the long distance company of today, but we compete with Verizon, compete with the other ones that became long distance companies too. And in the process, Bell Labs pretty much disappeared. It's still in there, but and AT&T Labs is still in there. But when I was there were 11 research groups. Now there are 2, and they basically do local work. So it's not. But very, very interesting. At that time, at Bell Labs, 69, look at this thing. They said AT&T announced its annual report that picture phone service may be $1 billion business. What is picture phone service?
Taking pictures and sending them to video calls.
Huh?
Video calls.
Video calls, exactly. You pick up your receiver with the screen, look at you, and that is this communication. So My mom was sick, and I decided to get one of those devices, but I could get it for free because I was free. And they wanted $1,500 in late 80s per device. So it was $3,000 for 2 devices. Guess how many people bought? Not very many people. I had a lot of trouble installing it in my mom's place, but I managed to do it in a Brazilian. Okay? It was good to have the communication, but actually the problem failed. And 15 years later, meaning in the 90s, still there was no picture. Do you have picture from today? And what is it? Is it $1 billion business? Isabel says no. He says it's more than that. Come on, let's think a little bit about this.
I guess it depends on what component of video calling. So for commercial industries, it's definitely taken off in the form of like
If you want to talk to your granddaughter, in my case, by video phone, what do you do? FaceTime. Yes. And if I want to make sure that Chow Chow is working hard, not having a nap during a conference call, what do I do? Turn Skype on with video. So I hate when my students, oh, I'm not dressed up. Means I won't take a nap during the presentation. But I do a lot of stuff. Do you remember how much was paid for Skype?
It was like Microsoft's biggest acquisition.
$7 billion. $7 billion. Can you Google that? I can't remember. I'm blanking out the name. But so what happened is, was a very non-linear development. They had a technology available in the 60s. We actually, the consumer lab at Bell Labs, had this study of screen size and pricing. And if you get very small screens, you get pretty good image. If you get very big screen over Twisted Pair, the technology of that type, Twisted Pair is the copper lines that we used at that time, you got pretty bad image. So we did all kind of focus groups and etc. to figure out, and then management overrode it and charged $1,500 for the screen. And at the same time, France had a device, and they had basically gave it out to everyone. And it worked very, very well. It didn't have all the characteristics, but had a lot of things that the internet has today. But it was kind of a government-sponsored type of thing. Very, very interesting how this technology has developed. And today, telephone calls, is that an independent product? So what are telephone calls associated? Did you find it? 8.5 billion, I said 8.5 billion for very cheap compared with some other recent acquisitions. WhatsApp. You know, the most interesting of these acquisitions is they bought Waze. You know who bought Waze? Google. They paid $1.1 billion for the Waze. How many employees Waze had? 7. You would like to be one of those employees, Russell? I wouldn't have minded either. My friend Ricardo, my best friend, has a son. His name is Paulo Lima. Ricardo Lima. And Paulo went to Columbia undergraduate. Went to Columbia masters. No, went to Columbia undergraduate. Then he decided to do a startup. And he was, when he moved to Boston, asked money to his parents' friends. Some contributed, some didn't. Did this gaming startup, went bankrupt. So to resolve this, he went back. No, actually, he went to Michigan as undergraduate, and then went back to Columbia for MBA. But this kind of startup personality, once you started, it's difficult to get out of it. So he went back. He married this girl who was Miss Washington. She went to Columbia with him, and actually they went together. And they started IT Cosmetics. Have you ever heard of that? Saw them in QVC? QVC? Yeah. Have you seen that? This is like my beautiful lips, my beautiful ears, and they have this cosmetic. They make the cosmetic in China. And if you don't sell $10,000 an hour, you can't stay in QVC. Okay? And they went like that, and 2 years ago, they had an income of $70 million on QVC. Mainly on QVC. Since then, they got lost and they got a couple of other things. They sold to L'Oreal last year for $1.2 billion. So it's not only high tech. It's very interesting what's happening with these startups. And if you remember, I showed you this whole thing of financing of a browser. And so this is kind of changing. And why is this happening? Why is this happening? That their income was $60 or $70 million. They sold for 15 times income. That's the way you measure these things. How many times income is sold? And worse is the waste of practically no income. 7 employees sell for $1 billion. It's mind-boggling. WhatsApp, same story. But for each one of these that does $1 billion, thousands don't do anything. Like our experience. It's a great story. It's a great story. It's great merit. 5-6 years working on this. $1 billion for 5-6 years is not bad. But let's go back to this story. So this is an example of terrible misjudgment of what's going to be happening in the market. And that's my story of continuous auditing, is you know something is going to happen. But the timing of it and how it's going to happen is much more difficult. And this whole thing of predicting technology slides are about that. Okay, Thomas Edison talking about customer survey. And this is, I learned at Bell Labs, the same story. If they ask a user, when they had no electricity, what did you use for light? Candle, correct? If you ask a user, what would you have said? Longer burning, smokeless candles, never a light one. Can you explain me what it means by that?
The consumer doesn't necessarily know the next step of what they want. They just know how to take what they have and do not.
When I worked at our lab, talk to a user of the system, they would say, I want this column a little bit more to there, I want the other variable here. They never thought the next step would be an interactive system or whatever it was. And it's pretty true for you to have a longer vision. And so they said, users are not very good champions of revolutionary change. The first axiom. Second one, invention and use. Have you ever heard Marconi? Marconi was the guy who invented radio communication in 1894. What was, he did it at the wireless road in Long Island. And what was this device? The device was a device that had a device here, Tom has another device there, and without a wire between the two of us, we could not. But took another 20-something years for someone to have an idea of maybe that PARC and receive device is too expensive, we break it down into two. one device that talks and receives, other device that just receives. That's radio, broadcast. Very interesting. Now, the next thing is kind of interesting. First advertising in broadcasting, called it toll broadcasting, 1922, 2 years later. The story here is technology, business model. And a good technology needs a good business model, or is not going to fly. The classic story of this is VCR tapes. Okay, you don't even remember what the tape is. They actually do. The tapes you used to go and rent those tapes. Do you remember that, people? Okay, where did you go to rent the tapes?
Depending on the year, either Blockbuster or Video Then.
Okay, so you good. You go to Blockbuster. And actually, Sony had a competing technology in VCR. And what happened is, Sony technology in Betamax was much better than VCR. How come VCR win? Cheaper, and the same story as I said before about Apple, is VCR was an open technology. Sony held proprietary to that technology. So it's not a question about best technology, it's a question about the combination of technology and the business model. Same story about Apple computers and the PC standard. The PC standard is not as good, and certainly not at that stage, was not as good as the Apple technology. But the PC standard had many, many suppliers and was cheaper. So instead of having one company selling it, had hundreds of companies selling it. Many companies you still have today. Same story with the VCR. So technology is developed typically for a particular purpose, and ensuing users past next use outweighs the original intent. What do you think that the World Wide Web was developed for? What do you think that was the purpose? No, I'm going to ask someone else. Yeah. It wasn't exactly evil, but was that the World Wide Web was developed to make people talk to people. But what is the big usage of the World Wide Web today? E-commerce, correct? Yes or no? That's where all the money is made. Although intercommunication is very important. Actually, I usually say that the future of telecommunication is broadband, and what voice telephony is going to be a very narrow add-on on the broadband. So you will use a little bit of the bandwidth that you have to do voice communication, maybe even look at your doctor in video. But the broadband will be doing all kinds of other things. And very soon I'm going to be asking you, what are these other things that you're already doing with your broadband that you don't even know? So, technology facilitates and creates things. Business model creates real use. Different business models might create different types of products. So, what I said before, technology and business models are different things, and both require creativity. Have a bad business model, no good technology, nothing happens. Great happens. Okay? A great business model, credit product, it also doesn't do very well. Need both of them. Okay, back to the telephony story. I already told you the beginning of the diffusion of telephony. What happened there in the diffusion of telephony? There were a whole set of independent telephone companies, a couple of them very big. And the big ones were eating the small ones. And what happened? Next, the government stepped in and basically said, you have to create a common standard and let everyone interconnect. What created that? That created a more even play. The small companies were not going to be even. Progressively, they got acquired, but not at the discount that wouldn't have been destroyed that way. So it was a good move. Let me tell you something. I'm going to come back to this. This is the government interfering in business. Many of you will say, a government should never interfere in business. This was successful. Very successful. In 94, the government stopped supporting the internet. The government stopped paying for the wires of the internet. And what they said is we are going to invest on data concentration techniques, because more information over the same lines. Again, was very successful because commercial companies took over the slack and created a much more robust, much more money into the internet. So, the government doesn't always do bad things. They actually did very good things in the visible development. Oh, a little thing here. When AT&T divested and operating companies took over, progressively what happened is that other countries have better telephone systems than the US. Europe, many countries have developed much better telephone systems. But over the years, things leveled up. Because what happened is the telephone system is here, and an alternate network developed here. What is the alternate network? Wireless, the circuits. And those two things have to be connected, right? Not in all countries. There are countries that you call with the cell phones, countries that didn't invest in infrastructure, you only can reach cell phones. I actually have a friend who lives in one of the African countries, the mountain. He actually has 3 cell phones. And usually you have 2, one for business, one for person. I have only one. But he has 3, because he has different companies that he needs to reach people on, and they are not interconnected. Can you imagine how miserable it is? You have 7 telephones carrying it around. And by the way, the pricing is different. So for certain things you probably use one phone. For other things you use other phones. I still remember in Brazil when it was like that. Now it's just, in Brazil, just some companies have actually another fine. So this was the diffusion of telephony that I already mentioned. Do you still remember what a fax device is? Do you remember what a fax was, Tom? A fax. You still use it, yes. So what is a fax? Describe it to me technically. Someone, Abdullah, what is a fax?
Well, you have like a printed sheet of paper and put it into the fax machine, which transmits the information to somebody receiving it, and it prints out what you have.
Okay, and actually this is reasonably old technology of the 70s. But what happened at that time is that it was very expensive. The devices were very expensive. Like I was describing the device for video telephony, it was very expensive. So it didn't catch up. But somewhere in the early 80s, what happened is that those devices that were costing $1,200, $1,500 became cheaper. Yes, sir.
I'm just going to add that they were also transmitted online and not the internet working.
Yeah, they required connectivity on the line, and most companies, I still have it, an extra line for fax. I never bothered to eliminate it. I better go and eliminate it. And so you needed a physical line, you needed 2 devices in both sides, and the prices were expensive. And then some companies discovered that devices, faxes were good to transmit blueprints. It was a real problem that they had of 3 factories are manufacturing the same thing, or they order the many other firms to manufacture something, and they don't have a blueprint, have to physically transport. So what did they do? They bought these expensive devices, and progressively those devices became cheaper. And the next thing that happened is people that were vending to them and buying from them said, this is an easy way to get their attention. Let's send them a fax. And so that's how fax matured. The device went lower in cost, the operating the lines became a little bit cheaper, and the need arose, or was identified. Need maybe existed, but was identified. That was the story of fax. But now, what happened with fax? Do you send faxes? You still send some faxes in Brazil, and I think many businesses in the US, you look it up, there is a fax number. But what's happening with that technology? Okay.
Where I used to work, this access by submitting to the email, so it's not like a physical machine anymore. It's just like, well, depending where you send it to. But if you get it,
Yes, there is actually exception dot fax. Okay, it's the document in fax form, like dot, PDF, dot fax. That's one thing. What else from?
Kind of similar to say many people accepting PDF form.
Yeah. Actually, there was an intermediate stage. Originally, PCs were basically read-and-write devices, and scanners became reasonably cheap. So the unique characteristic of the scanner was the ability to scan a piece of paper and transfer it in some electronic form. And progressively we could do that with the PC, and people bought scanners. But actually, it wasn't a great motivation for scanners, because rapidly people figured out they could send better resolution cheaper, just transforming documents directly into that form. So actually the future of fax is dot fax. And that's probably going to disappear too, because it was very low resolution form. But what happened with fax? Just telling you a kind of story. It was a real need. They found a way to resolve the need. Okay, the price went down a little bit, and you started aggregating value into that thing. And then progressively what happened, we found other ways cheaper to do it. Then what happened with the companies that were selling fax devices and focusing on fax devices?
They started a new business.
They either went bankrupt or started a new business. But that became, and that's kind of the life of technology companies, and it's very fast how this happens sometimes. Okay, great story, I already introduced it to you. When I was doing my master's at MIT, there was a guy called Ed Lamb, and he had got a PhD in chemistry. And his PhD dissertation was silver deposition photography. What was it? Was the layer that they put on paper of silver crystals that actually could take a picture and develop it without the complicated chemical processes that Kodak was commanding, and et cetera, et cetera. So he called it instant photography. And he wanted to start a business, so he went to leading company in the world in photography, Eastman Kodak, monster of a company, nearly size of IBM. And said, you want to buy this? Who wants instant photography? Look at the quality of this thing. Who wants it? So they didn't buy it. Does that sound similar to other stories there? IBM and Apple, AT&T, and what? Western Union. Who wants to buy this? So he went into Eileen's basement. You know what Eileen's basement is? It's a department store in Boston. And in one afternoon, he sold 500. He got his cousins to borrow money. He got money from everybody. But in one afternoon, he sold his entire inventory of film and the cameras. Came with camera. There's camera and film in box. How come he did that? Kodak didn't want it. This is very compelling information. You don't want the personal pictures to go to this guy to develop. Okay, I just imagine, think about what you have in your iPhone of pictures and see if you want all of them to go to a third party maneuvering. And you know that little baby walking and they say do that first step. You want to see now. So it's really a neat kind of thing. People want it. And they'll pay a lot of money for it. So that's what he wants. He demonstrated this thing. He got venture capitalists to give him money. They started this company called Polaroid. And Polaroid was, in my MIT days, the example of advanced technology company. It was Polaroid and Xerox. And then a few years later, Kodak decided that wasn't such a bad idea after all. And so they started offering instant photography. Polaroid took exceptions and violation of our patents and went to court. And the court decreed that Eastman Kodak had to cease and desist forever of instant photography and pay $100 million to Kodak. Where is Eastman Kodak today? They are still around, but they went bankrupt. They went bankrupt. They were one of the largest companies in the world. They went bankrupt. Was an example of high-tech company in that time. But they didn't recognize the change in the market. And then, after this, they learned maybe their lesson and they invested billions of dollars on basically photography, but electronic photography, like electronic cameras. They sold cameras and etc. So they never really recovered very well in those markets because they were trying to apply the model that they had of old photography, make money on paper, make money on film. And you still buy paper, you don't buy film. And film was one of the biggest things. So they really didn't change that much in their model, and that's unfortunately that's what happened. But it's kind of a repeating story. Okay, we talk about video phones. Okay, this is another interesting story. There was this prediction that a lot of the internet would go through satellites. And so several companies were created with billions of dollars in investment in satellite internet thing. And basically what happened is they went back. And why were they bankrupt? Because providing that service with satellites was very expensive compared with doing to establish phone lines in the ground. And of course the IBMs and the AT&Ts and the Verizons and the French companies and etc. didn't really allow them to compete very well. They lowered progressively the wire usages on the ground. Actually, the company still exists, the US one, because they basically signed a contract with the military. And they signed a contract with the military because you don't have wireless service if you are fighting in the desert of Africa. And if you have a very big destruction in infrastructure, the towers have been destroyed. So, having satellite telephony is very useful for warfare. And of course, if you are on a ship, maybe that's my daughter was doing the film in my daughter graduated in last year of Princeton. I sent her to Italy for son. She worked for EDC for 2 summers, and so she went there. And then she calls me and says, Dad, I'm going to Kosovo to film for ABC. That's how you nuts, they have a war going on. Okay? I said, no, I can still ABC. And but she went to Kosovo. She filmed. Then she called me to satellite telephones. And I said, listen, this costs $5 a minute. I go, oh, this soldier is very nice, let's me use it. She's cute. Okay? And she has a boyfriend there to protect her. So, because of course you have to go to Kosovo with your boyfriend. And that's her film that thing is called Normal Life. And it's about the children of Kosovo, what they did during the war and after the war. And she filmed it with the Super 8, and she won all kinds of prizes with the Super 8. But, calling me, exactly. Oh, you know the one that shook me most? The picture of her sitting on a tank. So they're very happy there. Can you imagine your daughter doing that to you? Okay, and this is a preamble to this book. Okay, it's called The Innovator's Dilemma. Now, if you pull it out, the copyright is 2013. But the book was published much earlier, and this is a very famous guy. His name is Clayton Christiansen, and he's a professor at Harvard. And his PhD dissertation was about innovation, but was about innovation on the disk drive industry. And was very, very smart book. And actually, the name of the book was The Innovator's Dilemma at that stage. Why large companies fail, something like that. And he basically classified companies into sustaining technologies and disruptive technologies. Let me write that to it here because that's what they were talking about at the CPA meetings. Disruption. And all the stories I was telling you about IBM and Apple and AT&T and Western Union, Polaroid and Eastman Kodak, they're all stories of similar things, disruption. And basically the argument there is, if you're a company, meaning I was at AT&T because I saw this happening. You know, they have this very successful business. They have hundreds of thousands of employees. They are making huge amounts of money. Why would they want to get something that's going to destroy their business? And so typically what happened in this situation is that the little business that's going to disrupt the business starts out by itself until it becomes a real threat. And then AT&T, when I was there, we didn't have a wireless company. Meaning, how can the company that developed all the wireless technology not have a wireless company? Explain me that. I was looking at the time because I think I want to give you another break. This is a long class and very popular. I'm going to go but I thought you had asked before. So we're talking about disruption, okay? And we are talking about why would a very successful company like AT&T not want to buy or have a wireless company?
Because they don't know what's going to be. Because like disruptive technology is so new
Okay, so it's untested.
It's untested.
Isabel.
Stage one capital investment.
How about I'm fat and happy. Why change things? It's true. Correct? Here, actually, a little bit later on the stage, we wrote down this cannibalization discussion of telephone lines. And basically, this was the projection of what will happen to the revenues of AT&T. So $1 billion is the integral of this, is how much you're making here. And if you didn't adopt wireless, maybe you could hold this to this. So it would be billions of dollars of difference here on sustaining the thing. So actually what has happened is in many of these disruptions, for example, electronic banking, banks created electronic bank with a different brand name from their banks. Brokerage houses that were making $100 a trade started making $8 a trade. So that destroys any business model at all. So what companies try to do? They try to avoid, decrease the rate of default. And they wish it away, say, oh, it's not going to happen. And sometimes it doesn't happen because technology dies. And I can give you some examples. You think Tesla is a sustaining technology? Is it going to disrupt the car industry? You say no. Edison, what do you think? What do you think? Meaning, is the electric car is going to disrupt? Or is it driverless Tesla car? Or is it both? I sent you an by the way, send some emails to the class. The only emails I got it from him. I want more that I was so happy I transmitted it myself. Okay, I want more emails. Find technologies that meaning I can't read every newspaper. So just send some stuff that everyone can read. You get class participation credits and a thank you from me. Huh? You got your quota credit. But yeah, you start to represent I like it. The problem I have with these emails is that it takes so much. I love to read this stuff. Reading grading things and doing the things. Sometimes it's so nice to read about new technologies. And I will start sending you some of the ones totally directed to our country, written by the CPA. And so when you go and start interviewing, you say, KPMG guy, Vasarhelyi said this. Yeah, I was in a panel at the ISACA, which is the IP Audit Association last week, and this guy, Mike Smith, was there, and he's the head of continuous auditing and blockchain at PwC. So I'm going to bring him here. I'm going to invite you guys to attend his workshop. But they are now talking about these things that I have been talking for 3 decades. But it's very interesting to see all this change. We also had a visit here. She was there of a blockchain company. And this guy said that there are 600 blockchain startups. And if my story of Paulo and his L'Oreal deal is true, a couple of those blockchain companies are going to become billion-dollar companies and acquisitions. So, and by the way, people think that blockchain is going to be the big disruption. And people say that this company that visited Libya is actually more into water. So let's see what's going to be happening. It's very interesting thinking about this kind of two-star side of the body. Remember the axiom that I talked here about business model and technology is not only about technology, it's about finding the right thing to do. And then the other thing I talked is this thing here, cannibalization of technologies. And again, some technologies just don't survive. They get obsolete, don't happen, like the video telephone never survived because another way to provide that capability came in 20 years later, that came in. And from one second to the other wasn't a business by itself. Video telephony is a business by itself to companies that link facilities with wideband, etc., but it's not really a big business. Because much bigger business, smartphones and internet took over the business. And by the way, it's really great to see your granddaughter in FaceTime or see your parents in China. Or we had an Ember student here about 3 years ago from China. She said, I can talk to my 3 boyfriends every day. That's what she said. But you know, and the other, just kind of saying one more thing about this is how it changes human habits. You know, my students, particularly PhD students, used to come here and spend 4 years having daily communication with their families. Every day. With mom and with dad and with their friends. And this is a whole different behavior. And also very good information. They know how to have a home. The parents come to visit. Very different mode to them. And this is disruption. And so let me just kind of say what I think about disruption. And sustaining technologies are little changes at the time. And as I said, the users are very good at telling you how to improve. How can you improve this faster? Take the air conditioning back. Okay? Make the projectors bigger screens. And we can come up with a lot of things to improve the local experience. But the total different educational experience is very difficult to think. I'm going to make you think about that today as an issue. But understand this big difference. Disruption versus sustaining. And I think that the best story about why big companies are not disrupted is because they make more money in the near period by being sustained. And if you use discounted cash flow, near money is much more important than long term. Except for Mr. Bezos, who doesn't believe on short-termists, and look what they've been doing with Amazon. Very impressive. I can't think of any other story like that. You know, many of his businesses lose money. And first, 8 years of Amazon, or 10 years of Amazon, didn't make a penny. Lost money. But the markets were willing to support him. Why? Because he was gaining huge market shares. Okay, and this is kind of the newest version of Innovator's dilemma, now Innovator's solution, but you can buy Innovator's dilemma too. Okay. Okay. This is actually a little example of Innovator's dilemma, not theirs, but we picked up about 10 years ago. And there is this thing called PARC, Xerox PARC. PARC stands for Palo Alto Research Center, and was the big rival of Bell Labs, although they were this size and Bell Labs were this size. And was tremendously creative place. I met the guy who was running it, his name was John C. Brown, and we about his books. And with the pilot operation compared with Bell Labs, they developed graphic user interface, PC, Windows kind of thing, mouse, laser printers. You know what Ethernet is? Is the cable or the network that supports local area networks, and it's the coaxial. And then you have plugs in the wall for your computer. That's it. Desktop publishing, word processing, bitmapping displays. And into that line, they were not the leaders in any of these industries. They developed it, they invented it. And you know, Bell Labs, you can forget Bell Labs. Bell Labs was being paid by public money. Each state set rates. And the patents of Bell Labs at that stage had to be public. So you have to give it because the public paid for it. These guys paid out of their own money. But why is it possible that you are the technical leader in so many things, you don't own any top abilities or top rating on the field? Try it, Hudson.
Well, you said it's not just about technology, but it's about building a business.
Exactly. They were very good at developing technology. PARC was disjointed from Xerox, not very articulated with Xerox. So they went out, they created PARC in Europe, and they had all kinds of cool technology. When I spent the sabbatical in 92, 93 with my kids, horrible place, south of France, marvelous, the Riviera. My two kids learned how to speak French, also how to smoke. That's not wrong, and etc. But it was a wonderful, wonderful place to be. But, and it is a place called Sophia Antipolis, which is the Silicon Valley of France. Very, very interesting development kind of place. And I met John City Brown and I saw, what he was doing there. But there's not little connectivity with the business line, the transfer of technology. And in Bell Labs, we had better connectivity. There are parts of Bell Labs that were intricately connected with networking solutions, and people rotated between the two areas and etc. But my impression of Palo Alto Research Center was that they were kind of a core of researchers developing new ideas, but they didn't work into the next change. If you saw a film called Pirates of Silicon Valley, and there is an exchange between Jobs and Gates, Bill Gates. And Jobs and Gates were somehow friends, and Bill Gates visits Jobs. And Jobs shows him this interface. And this is graphical user interface, which became Windows eventually. But so he had that in the Lisa computer, which came before the Macintoshes. He showed that, and 6 months later, Gates started Windows 1.0, which was terrible. Okay, but they fixed it. Windows 2.0 was fine. Okay, and they had a big exchange. And Clayton, I showed you this, and you stole my idea, etc. And then he says, I didn't steal your idea. This was actually a patent from PARC that you are using, and I bought the same patent. And so, it's they made some money out of patents and etc. But if you can see Pirates of Silicon Valley, you would like it. It's interesting, and you learn something. So this is the whole thing about sustaining technology versus disruptive technologies. Okay, and there's some examples of disruption. So this is kind of one thing that I wanted to say. When these big technologies come in, or big businesses come in, people piggyback businesses on it. I'm going to show you a set of slides I have about Jackson Hole ski. You know what Jackson Hole is in Wyoming? Great skiing place. Okay? And they actually have an interface for you to buy your tickets. That's Amazon. It's built on top of Amazon. Amazon has maybe, last time I saw, over 10,000 businesses that piggyback on Amazon. And what does that mean? Is that Amazon developed the apps, the usage, charging on credit card, the showing it, on the tracking of usage, etc., and people put their own brand on it, make it a little bit different. And Amazon makes money not selling books or selling something, they make money providing infrastructure, providing services. And they actually, Amazon has the biggest position on cloud computing. And people can buy that, people can buy it tremendously. And I will show you some examples of innovation on top of it. The reason I like to talk about this is because I anticipate that 1/5 of this class or 1/6 of this class is going to eventually go into things like power, just innovation, or startups, or emerging businesses. And these are usually, these derivative businesses are not huge businesses, but they're profitable. So, for example, June talks about Internet of Services for auditing services. I think these will be soon in the future. The big firms are going to have money to develop their blockchain, develop their AI, do this, and the smaller firms are stuck. They don't have the capital to do that kind of thing. But they're not going to go out of business, they're not stupid. They're going to pool. They are going to pull together into larger groups that can afford it. Or they're going to specialize very narrowly. I can do this. Then there is no synergy. There is not enough demand within the large firms to do that. Very narrow, specialized businesses. The other thing that happened with the CPA firms over the last 40 years is when I started teaching IT audit at USC, just finished my tenure in Brazil, I got my PhD in the US, went back to Brazil because of my 2 years requirement for visa. Had a great job in Brazil. I was head of the largest computer center in Brazil and started the first MBA program at Stanford University. Dealing with administrators at the time. No research, only published 2 papers in 2 years. How ridiculous that can be. Okay, so I came back and I got to USC and my teaching about my professor had moved from UCLA to USC. I went there and we were teaching accounting. I had taken one accounting course in my MBA. Okay, but you know about computers, teach IT audit. So I said, oh, and so they had this package called Strata. Strata was the package of 2 straws, Deloitte and Touche, Deloitte. That's how they know. 2 straws, Deloitte and Touche, Deloitte. Okay, they had a Strata, and some years they gave USC to use it. So I rapidly learned Strata, but I didn't know enough. So I invited the partner in charge of IT services in each one of the big 80 documents. And that was great. I made friends for life with some of them. And we wrote articles together, etc. And I picked up the Deloitte, the 2 straws Strata package, and I wrote a package that was interactive as opposed to card-based, called it Read. And about 15 years adopted it for instruction. Big mistake of mine. I should be writing papers about writing stuff. But anyway, it was interesting. But at that time, I taught the following. I taught every company has computers. So no one is going to be an IT regular auditor. Everyone is going to be an IT auditor. This was late 70s. Guess what? Today, only 15% of the auditors are IT. And I always blame this on conservatives of the profession, or idiocy. I invented a lot of reasons. I now think differently. I think the tools were very bad. And I think we need drag and drop tools to make auditors do data analysis. And I'm convinced about this now that my theory will change. But one of the interesting things that happened at that stage, and I think we talk about that happened at that stage, is that each one of the firms, 2 straws had started. Mario Kamichi, AT&T, had 2190. Deloitte, Haskins and Sells had auditing. They all had their packages. I actually never had access to because when they fell through those packages, I had access to them. And they are all the same kind of thing. The same kind of function, total, summarize, sort, and etc., etc. And you punch cards, read the cards through, read strata through, and then put some of the client data there and did the analysis. And it turns out that none of the firms have IT audit packages. In the last 20 years, basically the audit software, you don't it ACL and IDEA, they are the dominant ones. ACL is done by a company called ACL, and IDEA is done by a company called Caseway. And these things, Professor Brown, I think she's going to teach you Liberty Brown, Helen, I think she's going to teach you auditing, if not one of the students, one of the colleagues, maybe Chandler will teach you. She teaches, we teach actually IDEA and ACL. So when you get engagement, you get in the job, you already have some of the background. But these are now public softwares, meaning anyone can buy it, it's not a proprietary type of thing. And typically KPMG is more into IDEA, the other one's more into ACL. They are both Canadian companies. But the story is, this was each firm had their own proprietary software. Now, they don't have IT audit software, they buy ACL and IDEA. And I think with this family of tools that are being developed now, AI-based tools, blockchain-based tools, some XBRL-based tools, they are same story is going to happen. They are going to be independent developments, they are going to come together. And the small firms is going to, if the big firms don't share, the small firms are going to pull together and develop. So I don't think the prediction that small firms are going to go out of business is a valid prediction. There are 702 companies that were 2 years ago that did audits of public companies, although the big four does 90%. It's difficult to say what's going to happen, but I think what's going to happen is this kind of vulgarization of technology and some common packages. And as I said before, just repeating it, some of the little smaller firms are going to specialize. There will be fair value specialists, there will be expert system specialists, artificial intelligence, blockchain specialists, or valuation specialists, forensic specialists, etc. And the other ones will use common tools that have been developed by ACL and IDEA. And by the way, these guys are trying to develop those tools. And someone might come up. You know, the big fear of some of the firms is that Google will compete with the auditing. Certainly Google knows a lot about you. I don't think so. I think it's too small for market for Google. But that would be it. That's right. Very difficult to predict what the firm will do. Google, Apple. You know, the people who own most information about you is Google. Who else? Facebook. Who else? Who else? Huh? Telephone. Telephone, because they know where you are. Remember I talked about triangulation technology? Okay. That's just the beginning. And then the other story is you audit today financial statements. And basically you go to the company's statements and look at them, and then do some validation, which is called confirmation, to see if the information you have here is valid with the bank, is valid with your large clients. Third-party validation. That's what you usually do today. And what's going to happen is big data, all kind of form big data, are going to serve as this validation. And very often you don't need to do this because this will predict well enough. Or do the both. Hybrid. Question, answer? So that's kind of You want to 10 minutes break is good, it's possible. Yeah? 10 minutes, okay?
Hey guys. So I know we sent an email out for nominating people to run chairs. So at this moment, the president, vice president, and secretary are running unopposed. And we just want to encourage more people to nominate other people, or just maybe a lot of people decide they don't want to do it because they just really like the job and field. So we just wanted to describe who should run it. So the vice president, yeah, we'll get into it. But the vice president actually is also the president. That's not their main because think about how big your class is. Right now, there's only 30 kids, 31. The more people we add, the board just becomes the whole class, right? Essentially.
We're going to get into all that.
So yeah, that's what the vice president does.
Hold on. So my next question. No. We're going to get into that.
In the Q&A, yeah.
So he's going to talk about.
So right now, there's 6 people running for alumni chair. There's 6 people running for social chair. Only so 12 people. That can only be 6 people. So we're trying to encourage other people to take other roles. So, for example, as president, it might seem like a lot of work, but it's not. And it's really great exposure. You get to really get to know your professors. You're the one who's communicating with the professors. You get to communicate with the class. You're the one who gets to say something at the alumni event, and you get to plan graduation, say a speech at graduation. And that's really great exposure. Not to mention that's something great to talk about on interviews and really develop good leadership skills. It does come with a lot of responsibility. So you do want someone who is in that role to be vocal, to be good with talking with people, to be approachable. So you have to think about that, when you're deciding to run or when you're choosing a person to be a president.
Hey guys, I don't know a lot of you. My name is George, Vice President. Aside from helping Janky and anything he does at graduation and all that, just coordinating the class, but also involved in the treasurer class. It's kind of tedious, but it's very simple. It's really just a matter of reimbursement expenses. Little things when you do class, getting bagels, pizza for class. The class has a budget. You kind of have to just get some forms to all in the hand.
Yeah, and it's nice because you get to you're the ones who the board collected. Our board is really close and our class is like this, so we do everything together. So it was never one responsibility fell on one person. So it kind of I don't know, being part of the board really helps you get involved. And you're already my thing is you're already here. We're here all the time. You'll realize throughout this program, you basically live at this school. So this is just not some huge added responsibility.
Absolutely. As far as the treasurer, it's really just a matter of filling out the forms, just collecting some receipts, just dropping them off, kind of just following up, just supporting other members of the board, which we all kind of do anyway.
Right. And just to get on a different tangent, Steph and I are social shares on Monday, but it's going to be tough to try to get collectively everybody on the set date. You guys want to go out and do something after a semester, or today we were trying to get between our class and your class, but we just found out there was a coding midterms tomorrow, so it's tough to get everything going on. So, like I said, you're going to find out. It seems like it's going to be easy now to get a happy hour going, but it will get tough. So the big thing that you're all, as members of the board, are going to collectively, or hopefully collectively join in on is the alumni event that we had last Thursday. Even though it's specifically for the alumni chairs, you need a lot more to get involved. And then the graduation too, which we have to coordinate as well. So that's a big thing. Take that into consideration.
It seems like there is a lot of responsibility, there's a lot of reward.
Right.
So really, and
along with fun.
Yeah, we're all really close. And so it's nice to be creating this group that you help each other out and do homework together and things like that. So we just want to encourage more people to run because it really it does. I mean, it's not going to make an exponential difference in your future, but it does make a difference. So at the end of the day, the person who's the president, vice president on the board of your class will forever be the board of that class.
Right. And on your resume, it's going to say Rutgers Business School MBA Executive Board Member. It sounds pretty fancy.
And also think about your personality and person you are. You're not into working with other people. You're not. You're kind of more college focused on studies. This might not be for you. That's okay. This isn't for everyone. But we do want to encourage people who are interested and kind of don't know what the
lot of people like were only nominated in one. Like, you need 2 nominees to actually have your name on the ballot. So just like say if you are interested in running, just make sure 2 people vote. It can be yourself and someone else, but it has to be one other person.
I mean, I'm just going to say for social chair, we're supposed to use social media. So we have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And it wasn't exactly maintained, I guess, in a way that we wanted to. So if there is anyone who like, really likes to do that stuff, or like loves photography, like loves to post things like that, you know, that would be maybe something you want to consider. They do like more nominations.
Isn't that what Fred did?
Yeah, and Fred was on our alumni chair. He actually did more of that stuff. So honestly, I mean, we were saying like the rules aren't set in stone, so you don't have to do that.
You want to get involved, just run for something on
But
Play your interest, you know, and your strengths as well. Because the things you do spill over.
You think you have a better chance of winning because you're on chair, and you're saying right now that's not necessarily true. The way
So, how big is the budget? How big is the budget? Like, in terms of
Like-
allocating
Trust me, like, it's not that you're not managing millions.
Yeah.
Trust me, millions.
It's a very big
No.
budget. Look at the size of his back. It's all dollar bills.
Running away.
Is it 2,000?
I would say if your concern is about the size of the budget, then you're looking at it.
No.
You're looking at it like
He has a non-disclosure agreement.
yeah. You know, the budget is different for based on size and based on how much the school wants to allocate for students. So I know what my budget, but that might not necessarily be the same. It's small. It's probably in the hundreds. Below that, about.
And if
Like you're not going to tell you, you know, you're not managing like $400,000 to $500,000.
So what I'm saying is, what do you do to raise additional revenue?
I mean, that's the great part. Like, what you can go for like,
Sell shirts.
yeah, sell shirts, you can do a bake sale, I know like that, that's not time for that. But like, if you do have passion, that if you want to do something like that, that's your drive, right? You can do that. So that's what's great about being on board, you can make these decisions.
Also, like, just to talk about some of the stuff that that's covered, like, if we were to go out for an happy hour, so let's say, for Penny Reference, we could have that covered for food, but not foods. So it's not like we all go out like, yeah, happy hour free. It's not
Yeah, so
like
that's
that.
the reason
Wait, so we don't want to take too much of your class.
Is the online thing you sign up and nominate people that we reopen? It's closest to
Yes, we'll reopen it and we'll keep it open till tonight, and then tomorrow morning we're going to send out the others what the results.
It's been a great
So
party
I
to
was
put together.
talking to Professor Sanella,
online
and
party.
I pitched this idea that maybe the board can host like events where we do site visits to the Big Four or the other county.
I mean, again, that's like, so if you're on the board, you can be vocal.
Did you guys have money or something like that?
well, we never did it, so we never really part of it, to be honest. But,
Yeah, but they're all going to come for lunch.
Yeah,
it's
they're all
actually
gonna
covered
come
by the fee that you guys put in towards the beginning of the semester. So like a lot of this stuff that's going to happen this semester for you guys, all that is stuff that's really, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's,
realistically, like, they're going to come here, and chances are you're not going to have the time, nor are they going to let you go to the So that idea,
that's more for like second round.
You don't
yeah, but you
You
do
don't have a
that
lot
all
of time.
second round.
Everything happens very fast. Like, you let anything in.
So what do you spend?
I mean, that's no, but like that's it.
Let someone else ask questions. Let someone else ask questions because I want to start my class.
Whoever wins vice president, then we can have that conversation. You know what I mean? Once you guys are elected, each individual person.
Yeah,
talks.
the torch is passed.
Right.
Okay, guys, thanks for. You are doing public service by doing this.
Yeah.
It's not only benefit for you, it's for everybody. And they put great parties together. The PA class, the alumni class was great. Congratulations. Yeah. Okay. Do you know what 3D printing is? No, not you. You. Who else? 3D printing. You don't know what it is?
When you print solid objects.
So what is, can someone tell me? Not you, I don't know. Can someone tell me what is this idea of 3D printing? Someone quietly that formula? Fatima, you know what 3D printing is? Right? Fantastic, fantastic. More technology than I even expected. Okay, it's basically a device that you don't print on a piece of paper, you build something. And the easiest way to think about that, you have powder plastic, and you can build a part of powder plastic based on the design. And it basically just melts the plastic and put layer after layer, creating the thing. Now, what's the effect on 3D printing? You think this is a world-changing technology, is just kind of little thought? We had a presentation of artificial organs with 3D printing, and this is kind of getting hot.
It's still like evolving to the area. I think this technology is going to develop a lot more.
Absolutely.
It's going faster, the print stuff, bigger things.
That's why I put it over there. It's a very important. Have you thought of the following thing? You are not going to buy car parts anymore. Certainly the distributors, they are going to print them. Yeah, certain things will be more articulate to do, but a lot of things you just, and sometimes, car industry makes little money from new cars. They make money from replacement parts and etc. How are they going to make money that they don't go bankrupt? Depends. If they don't change the model, yes. But what they're going to do, they're going to sell designs. They're going to sell software to print the parts. And of course, what's happening now, still, the thing is dirty. The thing has to be made of one material. But progressively, you'll be making it from many materials, you'll put them all together, you'll be able to articulate things, and etc. It's a tremendous technology. And just imagine artificial organs. It's the very beginning. But it's a world-changing technology. And you can buy a 3D printer now for $500, $400. But this is like the shaper model. They charge little for the printer. Or it's the printer model. Charge little for the printer, charge a lot for the tremendous technology. A lot of things you can progressively do at home. A lot. When I started with laptops, personal computers, they had these hobbies. And you went and bought parts and assembled your own. And that's how Commodore started, Apple started. It's hobbies putting together their own thing. Then, of course, the industrial complex came in and could produce faster, better, and etc. But usually start with these. And a lot of people don't believe it. A lot. And just imagine the model of a car company selling software. Basically, the design for the CAD/CAM design. What is CAD/CAM? CAD, computer system design. Okay, now people call these wearables. I just like to call it hardware. Is you have software and you have hardware. And I call this hardware. Dressing. What is this? Actually, they call it wearables. So the little, what's someone else do? Right, Edison.
Is it kind of like glasses, like different technology?
Okay, Google Glass is very specific. form of hardware, yes. And so, what are the most obvious things that you wear a computer device? Yeah, Fitbit is a wearable. What else? Do you think that, yeah? Headphones? Boundary. Well, yeah. That's okay. How about clothes that are smart? You think about it, they become transparent. It's so good. That's it. Okay. But how about clothes? What would you like a cloth to do that can be computer controlled?
Oh, I was going to say shoes. They like the Nike, looks like for the Nike app, and you can see how far it's run.
Okay, so these are sensor devices. Good. What else?
There are some smartphones already available that will track things like vitamin controls, and then some of the more affordable ones will have just basic controls for media players and things like that. Especially like
How about a shirt with an air conditioning to wearing this class? Any other ideas? So you have these things that were built in biometric machines. Right? We had something about controlling the body environment. What else? Anything you can think about software and hardware controlling? Do you think there is a future for wearables? I think there's a big future. It's going to be very large now. Okay, and there'll be sensor stuff. There is going to be environmental control type of stuff. And then it's going things like boots, like if you go to leg, that kind of expands and controls based on the conditions of your body. There will be a lot of detection of health stuff. And just to begin, and I'm sure you guys are going to invent something that Steve Jobs would call revolutionary, and they might even produce it. There's a lot of wearable ideas. That has actually moved slower than I thought. How about the Internet of Things? Remember what June was talking about, chips that were smart, that could link to things. I think the Internet of Things is going to be, first, one of the largest sources, maybe the largest source of big data, big public data. And we're not totally sure how public this is. You know, do you realize that your Fitbit information actually doesn't belong to you? It belongs to Fitbit. So if you read, how many of you read privacy disclosures? Do you read privacy disclosure, Jason? No. Oh, of course not. Too complicated and designed not to be that. Impossible to read. And actually there was a time there was a big movement for truth disclosure that simplified these things. Still, you know what they used to talk in the old internet days is you sell your eyeballs. What does that mean? You give a lot of information about yourself in exchange of getting the service. You are selling your eyeballs by searching on Google. Yeah, I'm sure the Google disclosure has there somewhere what they do and allowing you to use it. I'm sure that when you sign for an account with Amazon, there is some of it. You basically want that service and you are willing to be privacy dependent. And even if you say no, there are plenty of ways to go around. But the Internet of Things, just they are talking about gigabytes of information a day out of cars when you are driving, automated cars when you are driving. And of course, the obvious things are there. What is the obvious thing in a self-driving car for information? How many of you guys think so? Oh. Where you are, yes. Yeah, location. Okay, but then, they already have other sources of information, right? Meaning, your cell phone goes with you, usually. So other companies, that's another thing. Who owns the information? Who has it? So location here. What's next? Question. Peter.
They could gather data about what the car is seeing. So road conditions.
That's the major source of information. Yes, is what the car is seeing. Because remember, the car driving in the street is like Google Street View. And so you can create Google Street View without having one car in the street by picking up someone else's cars and picking up the information. The third thing is dynamics. Different cars, different things going there. Fourth things is who is sitting in the car. Fifth is where do you stop? And those are, of course, physical condition of the car, and etc., etc. And you say, what's that stuff? Someone wants that stuff? Yes? And why would you want the stuff? Because you can make money out of it. If you can't make money out of it, you are not going to. Okay, I'm going to because did I tell you about we discussed the Malaysian airline? The one that crashed and they couldn't find it.
The one in
The flight 7. Do you remember the flight maybe 3 years ago or something? Where the flight crashed and no one knows where the flight is? What do you think it happened there? Remember, these modern airplanes have the engines issue the data stream to the manufacturer of the engine. Intelsat has a location with the engine. The manufacturer, not of the engine, but of the airplane, has a data stream to themselves. How is it possible they don't know where the airplane is? A couple more interesting questions. What is the Strategic Air Command of the United States? Okay. But what is, no, not the FAA. Strategic Air Command. It's military device, military institution designed for detecting in-flight of ballistic missiles into the United States. Okay? What are they doing? Yes? No, you're not too far. You're getting there. Strategic Air Command. Have you ever heard of it? You guys, after the Cold War. So they have these things that they are looking for airplanes flying into the United States objects, basically to avoid the Russians to shoot a ballistic missile and get hacked. Okay? There are 100,000 flights a day or more in the world. Okay? And some between Malaysia, another one Malaysia, Australia. That's not directed in the United States. Okay? But the job is that, and they have satellites, they have all kinds of technology to detect that. The Chinese are the same. So these guys have no idea where that plane is. Or if they know where the plane is, will they tell you? Why not? No, why not? They don't want to reveal their capabilities. They don't want to say that I know and I have sensors in place to detect this. So here it is. This thing disappeared. Okay, the Malaysians, they think they haven't any idea where the plane is. They don't have. And by the way, if you go low enough, it's not that kind of detection. It's very local radar in the mountains. So what people do that? No one. Of course, conspiracy theories here will say some terrorist group wanted the Boeing, whatever, 333, so it's big enough to put an atomic bomb there and put it in the universe. It's scary thought. Yeah? Unlikely. Most likely crashed. They found pieces in some islands in Polynesia and wherever they pieces in Zimbabwe. Is that how they found it? And they had aileron. Aileron is the thing that goes up and down in the wing, and they want to decrease that speed to land. And the manufacturer did not confirm that aileron belonged to the plane. Planes use ailerons, right? So it's kind of the same story. So this is really, really weird. But the most weird thing is that there is all these information sources in those satellites. They are their satellites located to planes to basically communicate. They don't know what it is. No. For the reason I advanced to you earlier, they couldn't find a way to make money out of constant location of a plane. So they had a model of communication on demand. The cassette communication, they would respond. Now that they lost planes, guess what? I'm sure they're developing applications to use the data. The next thing behind this is frequency of reporting. When I talked about inventory, remember that? I said it can do it once a year, once a month, once a day, once an hour, once a nanosecond. Not nanosecond, a millisecond. And what decides the frequency of reporting? Is it free or is it not free? Why is it not free? No. Some good opinion, but why? Okay, application costs money, the detection costs, the infrastructure detection costs money, and electricity to keep transmitting data. Maybe a little bit, but there.
And storing data.
All data storage, and of course building the models around it. So you're going to do what you think you're going to make money. And when there is this big success stand out, which in French, scandal success, everyone gets interested, bombing of the marathon, plane lost, then people start investing in these things. And again, one thing for you to start thinking over and over again is computers are multi-layered applications. You have hardware below it and one application on top of the other and on top of the other. And no one has money to develop the whole sequence. And the government sometimes tries to do that and they don't do very well. Okay? So the government now is using Windows and Excel. Before they did their own thing. Why? Because Microsoft has billions of dollars to spend on that development, and they're efficient, and they have all of you telling them what's not working. So it's very useful. So it's very good to have attention to this and stuff. And so most computer applications do anything substantially useful. It's a whole set of layers of software, not developed by you. Developed by someone else. That either got it in the free domain, got code in the free domain, but most likely you bought it, traded it, or etc. Now what's the consequence of that? This is what I call piggybacking of applications. What is the consequence of that? If you don't know what's below you, do you know that that thing might have a backdoor, cybersecurity backdoor? Do you know if it has a self-updating mechanism? Do you know what are the weaknesses of that thing? You think your vendor is going to come and volunteer to you all the weaknesses that they found? Okay, one more detail for you to think about. You have your laptop. How often does it update? Windows. How often does it update? There's always the required updates that you didn't order. So someone else has control on the computer. And someone else has access to those controls to put the updates in there. And someone has access to those accessing guys. So you know that the whole thing of cybersecurity is not going to go away. It's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. Because knowledge is multi-layered. Yes. Yeah, they call this threat testing. Okay, and they also have a thing that they call penetration testing, whereby you hire a hacker to try to penetrate your system. Okay, but these are just two types of things. The AICPA just issued the cybersecurity guide, and what they are trying to get into in the business of attesting in your audit to also have a cybersecurity attestation. Why they want to do that? Because they make more money. And that's a very interesting kind of set of thinking is out there, and you wish, you hope that the CPA's job will become also something about cybersecurity, because it's a big new business to be. Now, what does it do with your training? Difficulties. Okay. But the more the chart of the profession expands, meaning I actually have a different idea. I think, yes, cybersecurity needs to be dealt with somehow. I think we also need to expand the financial reports into what they call non-GAAP items, because GAAP items would explain stock market value, something like that. Are you guys boiling? Yeah. You know what? Let me see how many more slides here I will get to after this. Okay, and this is a list of all the companies I talked about, and we are down around here. And what's going to happen to Google if this model is valid model? I'm asking someone else. Let's see. Yeah, what do you think?
Maybe eventually it will crash.
Certainly, how do you measure the value of this company? Price earnings, correct? How much money they make, what is the value of the market divided by numbers, or divided by earnings. Okay, and we have this very bimodal distribution of P's plus earnings, which the traditional companies and the electronic companies. Okay, and actually the tendency is the company gets older, it gets more in the traditional domain. And what is Google doing about this? Yeah, buying companies left and right. A lot of artificial intelligence companies, a lot of robotic companies, a lot of providers of social media, and they can do it because the price earnings of this is so high that buying a company for $1 billion is very cheap. It looks very good. And so, it's inevitable. Leading company in computing for 50, 60 years. Still there, not doing very well, but still multi-billion dollar company, big in Watson now. Microsoft, huge company, established base, etc. They are going out and buying a lot of companies to keep their market share. Apple, notice I didn't put AT&T here, just up here. AT&T actually survived reasonably well the decrease of value of local lines, of wired lines. They finished up paying a fortune for a wireless company, but they made AT&T Wireless invested a lot, and they made it pretty good. And the other thing is the internet requires wires. Can't be all wireless. So the transportation of data across the ocean and transportation of data large distances works much better with highly packed fiber optics. So what they did is transform a lot of their wires between, because they were long distance. So they took copper out, sold some of the copper, and put fiber in. Yeah.
I'm just curious, why wouldn't a company like Verizon be on that list?
Should be. Right. Good point. Should be that Verizon is a big competitor of AT&T, and they've done quite well. I mean, they were one of the 7 operating companies. Now they are a major competitor of SBC, Bell South, and AT&T together. So they should be in that list. and they've done very well. And they've done very well in basically fiber to the home. Files. They've done very, very well there. It's very interesting how the American telephone companies have never competed very well internationally. In all my years of AT&T, and I never saw major play international, although they tried. But Google, the search market is not perennial. Nothing is perennial. At least one of these examples. So they are going to have to diversify, and they are going to have to find something that's hot, and they are not going to be the Google or the Amazon. Okay, they will just kind of go along, and if they do good manage, they will continue going. Now, do you have any idea? Do you have any idea of what could be the main source of Google today is advertising. And do you understand how the advertising works? Is algorithm based, and you buy advertising, and based on a series of factors, it prices automatically to your advertising. But the advertising budgets of companies in the world is not that big. Okay, it's not comparable with healthcare. It's not comparable with education. It's small. And so they are going to have to go into other things that are more profitable. And the other thing is, is the hockey stick thinking. Companies go like this and start growing, and you extrapolate them for here. But actually, volumes of market basically make it happen. So many people in the world, so many people in the United States, it's a limitation. They start growing much slower. So they can't grow the way they have been growing all the time. Great company. The thing that I don't know how much they are very opaque about this, I don't know how much they have managed to factory in selling data. And why are they very carefully about telling people about how they sell data and how much? They don't want to raise privacy fears. And by the way, the Europeans are suing them left and right. And what's the other reason? They don't want other people to go into those markets. They don't want to tell people they're doing well. I mentioned this before, but in 33, 34, when there was a big depression and the SEC was created by Security Acts, the SEC required disclosure of balance sheet and income statement. And companies were up in arms not wanting to disclose their income. Why? You are making a lot of money. Do you want to attract other competitors in your area? Today we think disclosing income is a must and there's nothing to think about. But at that time was another. And so they were very, very hesitant to disclose that information. And this is the guy I mentioned, John C. Brown, Social Life of Information. That's just real quick. Okay, concluding. Innovation is resisted by companies. This is basically the whole story of sustaining technology versus disruptive technology. Users, you have all these slides. Okay, we keep posting anything you want, you have it. So, if you want to write it out, memorize it, that template. Original intent of the technology is usually not the thing that makes real money. Technology and business model are different things, both require creativity. A bad business model or immature technology can do not a good idea. Okay, I don't usually finish classes very early, but I'm very often here. I can see you a little bit long.
Do you want to check attendance?
Attendance? I think I'll forgive you. Yeah, I usually have quicker questions, but I don't know. And I see most of you are here, although some of you are so hard that they're falling asleep. So, thanks, Chow. And thanks, Chow, for coming here. I never knew something was going to go wrong, so I needed her here. And have a little bit of mercy on poor Andrea. She's taking her PhD exam and something. By the way, microwave already finished today's